Here we go. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so of you here. Thank you so much for joining. My name's Becky. We are going to be making a really beautiful seasonal dish using sweet corn. I don't know what kind of corn you bought, but I bought some corn on the cob whilst it's in season. It's so sweet and so delicious, and I'm really excited to be using it with you. We're going to be doing a pan-seared salmon, well, the sweet corn fritters, pan-seared salmon, and a tomato and olive salsa. I did call it a slow roast tomato salsa, but I have to scrap that. There's nothing slow about it. It's actually quite quick. So I would actually advise you maybe to turn your oven down to 180, because I think the recipe said 200. So knock it down to 180, and that would be great for doing your tomatoes. So thanks again for coming. These are the ingredients we're going to be using today. If we can just look at these ones here, we've got some lovely tomatoes. As I said, we've got the corn, we've got the green chilies, Kalamata olives. Mine have got pips in, so I'm going to have to de-seed mine, but hopefully yours don't. And then we have a couple of salmon fillets. I'm going to move that off my chopping board. And actually, before we start, this is the first time that I've really presented anything online. So if you have any questions, if I'm going too fast, too slow, give me a wave and I'll ask them to unmute you so that I can hear you and answer any questions that you've got. So first time, constructive criticism is more than welcome. So let me know. Thanks, guys. So we're going to start off making a pickle for the red onions. So we're going to need the white wine vinegar, the caster sugar, and some salt. So if we look at the chopping board here, this is 3 tablespoons of sugar. Actually, it's 2 tablespoons because I don't think we need quite as much sugar as what I originally said. So 2, 3 tablespoons, depending on your preference. And then white wine vinegar. We are going to use 4 tablespoons, which I don't have. Okay, this will do. So we're going to put the vinegar in with the sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give it a little mix. And your sea salt. So we're going to go with about a teaspoon of salt. Maybe a bit more. Salt is good. You know, if you're making a pickle, you need the sour, the sweet, and the salty to make a nice pickle. And it's just a quick pickle that we're going to use for the onions. So give it a mix around. And then over to your onion. So we've got a red onion. I did suggest you could use a mandolin, but I'm actually just going to chop it because my mandolin isn't very wide. And so I can't really get the rings that I want. So just try and peel it whole. Peel the onion whole so that we can do pickled onion rings. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the camera in case anybody waves at me and wants to ask any questions. So I'm actually a chef based in London. I work for, it sounds naff, but a high net worth individual who hires me to cook his food. I do his lunch and his dinner. I send him out a menu every morning and he decides what he wants. We're just going to slice this really thin, okay? So if you just look here, if you can do it, if you've got a nice sharp knife, put But you know what? It doesn't even have to be rings. If you're doing it and it's easier to do it in half, you can half the onion and do crescent. You can cut it in crescents. But I'm going to do rings. So just slice the whole onion into rings. But yeah, so I work as a private chef for a gentleman that lives in central London, he and his family. And I also work individually with clients one-to-one, whereby I design menus for them to help people with various goals. Honestly, it's usually weight loss. So people will come to me with weight loss goals or any other goal for that matter. And I help them devise menus to achieve that. So that's what I do. And it's lovely to have you on here doing this. I'm also studying for a nutritional therapy degree so that I can do more, just so that I can really be on the ball with the nutritional content of food. Because I think that's pretty important right now, you know, with COVID and all. I bet you thought you'd get away with an hour of your life without hearing that word. Anyway, so sorry, here is the onion. We're going to pop it in the dressing. It's not going to look like much dressing or pickle, but as we go through the cooking process, we are going to keep tossing it around, and it will eventually soften and gently pickle. So to get this going, just dress it around the pickle. And it's not going to look like much, but it's plenty and it will work. So once you've given it the first douse of sugar and salt and vinegar, we can put that aside. It's actually easier to use your fingers. So pop that aside. Maybe wash your pickly fingers. Oh, sugar. And the next part is we're going to stick the tomatoes, or get the tomatoes going. So we've got some beautiful tomatoes. Again, in season, they are just sweet and delicious. And what more can you want than, you know, the late summer tomatoes, other than tomatoes in the height of summer. So we're going to keep them whole. This bowl isn't big enough. And the recipe does say to use 180 grams of tomatoes in total. But one of my tips is, you know, if you're making something like this, just make a whole bunch of it. And you can use whatever you don't use for this recipe. You can use some of the salsa as a pasta dressing, as a pasta sauce, as a sauce to go with chicken, steak, fish, anything at all. So, you know, make it once and it will last you the week. So this isn't 180 grams. This is just a whole bunch of tomatoes so that I can use it again later. I'm going to pop it in that bowl with some olive oil. Again, it's all got the quantities on the recipe, but, you know, you just want some olive oil, really. Toss it around, and then we've got thyme that's going in there as well. So just pull off the leaves. Oh my goodness, I got a bug. That shows how well I washed those. Look at this little fella. Don't do that. Make sure you wash your thyme. Don't need the extra protein. Goodness, I don't know where that came from. Anyway, so yeah, thyme in here. And then we want to get some salt. Maldon sea salt is my favorite. It's just such a lovely, flaky, subtle taste. And it's also from Essex, which is my hometown. So a good pinch of salt, don't be shy. And black pepper. I mean, already, this is nothing, right? But look, it just looks yummy. I love it. Oh, Give it a good toss around, and actually put some more olive oil in it because we're going to use the juices after it's roasted as the dressing for the salmon. So it might look like a lot of oil, but you know, we're going to separate it and use it as the dressing. So I've got a baking sheet. I'm going to pop the tomatoes on with all the oil, all the salt. We've got this here. I'm going to rinse my hands. And then we're going to take the tomatoes over to the oven, which again, as I said, should be on 180. It doesn't really matter, but 180, we're just slowly cooking them. I'm not sure what that is as if you've got a gas oven, but again, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to put this in the oven, if you can join me with that. I'm actually going to set a timer because I will probably forget. I've got a very bad habit of, actually my bad habit is mostly with nuts. Literally every time I toast nuts, they burn. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. Every single time I lose track and burn my nuts. So not today, not that we're toasting nuts. So have a quick clear down. We are going to wipe down our board. Luckily, I'm working right next to the sink, so everything can go straight in there. That's nice. So now we're going to work on the fritters. Did you ladies get corn on the cob? Yes, I got a thumbs up there. You all got corn on the cob. Great. So with corn on the cob, it really is, in terms of buying it, you can see mine here. I've got some manky corn here. But hey, I guess I don't live next to a cornfield, so you get what you can. But buy it, once you've bought it, store it in a nice cold place. Keep it in the fridge if you're not going to cook it straight away, because it really starts turning to starch rather than sugar as soon as it's been picked. So ideally, you're going to cook it as soon as you can. We're just going to take the kernels off. I'm not sure. I mean, have you cooked? Do you usually just boil your corn? Thumbs up if you boil. Do you ever take the cobs off? Yes or no? No. Okay. Well, so we're just going to stand it up on it's standing on its base. Literally just run it down. It makes a bloody mess, but you know, don't worry about that. So keep turning it, cut the corn cobs off. Don't worry about the mess. And we need approximately, my recipe said 250. But when I tested it, I preferred it when I used a little less. So about 200 grams of cob or corn, whatever, is great. So just
Rebecca,
all the way down.
I have a question.
The kernels off, and it ends up looking like that, which you can actually use to make a stock. Oh, hey, we've got a wave.
Yeah, a question.
I can't see your name. Scott, can you? I think you need to unmute yourself.
I am unmuted.
On your screen, there should be an unmute button.
I have.
Becky, can you hear her? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. I think maybe her volume's turned down.
Ah, okay.
Maybe say, oh, you won't be able to say that to her. Oh, well, never mind. I think it's Becky's volume's down.
Yeah, it must be.
Oh,
Let me gather up our corn.
Anyway, she's carrying on. Okay. Oh, maybe.
Trying to get some volume here. I want to say hi.
Volume.
Oh, my volume. Oh,
Yeah. Got it. Excellent. Away you go.
Can you hear me now, Rebecca?
Oh my goodness, it was me.
Yes, it was.
This lady doesn't know what she's doing. Hi, sorry.
Right, you're here for the the cooking. It's okay. Is there a reason that we're using fresh corn rather than corn out of a tin or a jar?
Well, that's a good question. And there's not a big reason, apart from the fact that it's in season.
Okay.
So, you know, that's the reason. You know, I try to use stuff when it's in season just because, you know, if corn is a really great vegetable, it's delicious. But it's actually very high in sugar and very high in carbohydrates. So if you try and eat foods when they're in season, you know, it doesn't matter so much that you're eating high glycemic foods or high sugary foods, because you're not going to be eating it every day, you know. So it's in season, it's delicious right now. I'd be interested to see what it was like using tinned corn, but I've never tried it.
I just thought maybe it would be a bit mushy. That maybe that was the reation you.
It would be mushy, yes. But actually, you know, I love tinned corn. I definitely do eat it.
So do I.
I definitely do eat it. But my goal for this was to, you know, use some seasonal food.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. No, nice question, but no major reason other than I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So put my corn into a bowl. Sorry, we're going to weigh it. I'm going to take mine out of the bowl. So weigh about 200 grams of this corn. There you go. I've got 210. That'll do fine. You know, we're making fritters here. This dish looks, I don't know if you saw the picture of the dish at the end. I'm not sure if it went up or not. It looks quite pretty. And it's plated nicely. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're making sweet corn fritters. And you don't need to be too precious over it. So this is 210 grams of corn. We are then going to, what are we doing next? Spring onions. So get your spring onions, and we're going to slice these. How many spring onions did I say? I said 4. So I did wash these. Mind you, I said that about the other things, and I found a bug. Tenacious little things. So just take the ends off, and I'm going to cut 2 at a time because I don't trust myself. So just slice them, you know, just chop your onions. That's great. And then they're going to go in the bowl with the spring on with the sweet corn. And you can go all the way up to the nice crunchy ends of the spring onion. This is perfectly usable, you know. Lots of people throw this stuff away, but the stems are good. And also these things, spring onions, they're also in season right now. So spring onions are just delicious and sweet and young. And they're also very good for you. So we've got 4 spring onions. I'm just getting rid of some woody bits. So spring onions in the bowl. I'm going to try to remember to keep having a look at you too, in case you want anything. So now we've got spring onions and corn. We also need in here, what do we need? Coriander and green chili. So I'm going to go with green chili next. I mean, make it as hot or as spicy or as not spicy as you like. I'm going to cut my chili down the middle here. And you don't even need to get rid of the middle, but the middle part's actually the hottest part of the chili. So if you don't like it too hot, get rid of the seeds. And the seeds are hot just because they're in contact with this skin here. So there's a skin, like a really fine film. This is called the caseous thin. I can't say the word, but this is the hot part of the chili. And so the seeds are hot, or people say the seeds are the hottest. but it's just because they're in constant contact with the film on the chili. So just rough chop it really. I'm going to slice it down into lengths and then cross chop it like this into somewhat of a dice. And pop that in with the spring onions and the corn. Again, you could use red onion and red chili, if obviously if you like. You could use dried chili flakes, you know, whatever you've got really. And then the coriander. So I love coriander. Oh God, delicious. As far as, you know, some people seem to hate it. Maybe it's like a Marmite thing, I don't know. Again, you know, just don't pick it, just, it doesn't matter. Just chop a chunk of coriander off. It says 15 grams, measure it if you like. But I'm just going to cut a wedge off and give it a really, you know, bunch it together a bit like this and give it a few chops through. And that is also going to go into the bowl. Again, if you love coriander, put more in. If you don't, don't. I also like these with mint. So if you want to put a bit of mint in, you could put some fresh lemon zest in. You know, you can really pimp this up however you like it. So this is maybe a nice base recipe that you can follow. So a quick tidy down, clean my knife. I don't need the extra chili. So this is the base for our sweet corn fritter. Now we are going to get our eggs and our flour to make a paste for the fritter. So let me see. Okay, flour. We need, how much do we need? Where's my thing? On your scales, we need about 60 grams of flour. Have a quick look at my camera, because before I forget, you guys are there. Okay, I put 70 grams in, but that's fine. And we need the baking powder and a teaspoon. So I put 4 grams of baking powder. 4 grams is a big teaspoon. So a big teaspoon is great. So a big teaspoon in there with the flour. Again, get some salt going in there. So pinch of salt, big pinch of salt, don't be shy. People are shy. I mean, it's tricky for me as a nutritionist or training to be a nutritionist. I should probably use less salt. But as a trained chef, salt is my favorite thing. So I'm going to have to work on, you know, really making this work somehow. So we've got flour and salt and baking powder in here. Give it a mix just to get it going together. And our eggs. So 2 eggs. Just crack the eggs into bowl. Into the middle if you can, so you can give them a quick mix first. So I'm going to give the eggs a brief whisk in the middle. And mix the egg with the flour to make a thick paste. So it's going to look like all-purpose paste, if I'm honest. But that's what we're doing. I've actually got a 3rd egg in case I need it. So you might need a 3rd egg. So just hopefully you've got one. I think I anticipated that most people have eggs in the fridge. So you might need a 3rd egg to make it a bit looser. So this is eggs, salt, baking powder, and flour. Do you know what, guys? I'm actually going to use my 3rd egg. So not sure what yours are looking like, but I mean, it's supposed to be thick, but I know once I put the corn in, I'm going to want a bit more liquid. So I'm going to put my third egg in. Sorry if I've thrown you there because I didn't put that on the recipe, but if you don't have a third egg, maybe just use a little less of the corn.
Can you show us, Rebecca, how fluid yours is?
Yeah, I'll hold it up to the camera. So again, it's really not very fluid.
Okay.
It's like a manky paste. But
Okay.
it won't be long.
Good.
That's for the third egg. So now we're going to put the paste into the dry ingredients, the fresh ingredients. I probably should have made the paste in the big bowl, but never mind. To get as much of the paste out as you can. Ideally, you've got a spatula, a rubber spatula, to get it out with, because they work much better to get the odds and ends out. Okay, so I seem to have a timer on. I'm not sure what I'm timing. So mix this through. Just going to get rid of some of my corn because I think I've got too much corn. Now it will look really thick, and you're going to be like, "Hey, hang on a minute. I mean, this isn't a pancake. It's not like a fluffy, well, it's not a fluffy pancake, but it's going to cook into a really nice, thick, rustic fritter that we're going to sit the fish and the salsa on top of. It's not. I mean, we're not blending this. I mean, you probably could blend it. It will be a completely different thing, but that's not the recipe, so don't worry about that. You know, we're not blending it. It's literally, it's got the beautiful corn, it's got the herbs, it's got the salt and the onions. And once we fry it, that'll all stick together and it'll be delicious. So we can pop that to the side for a second. Pop that to the side. Come and wipe down, and we're going to work on the tomato salsa. So let's have a look. Oh, the timer. That was my tomatoes. I told you, I always forget. I forget everything. So our tomatoes are due to come out now. So I'm currently using a microwave oven. I mean, it's a combi oven, and I've never used it before. And the tomatoes aren't ready, so it doesn't get as hot as my normal oven. But I've got a new oven arriving tomorrow, which is not in time for today. So my tomatoes are going to stay in for a little while longer. But if you take yours out, they should be, maybe show me them if you've got them handy. Because we're just going to take them out and leave them aside for a moment anyway. So it doesn't matter that mine is still in. I'm going to wait to see you on the screen. They should be soft. Are they somewhat soft? Yes. So yours are soft and blistered. If they're not, you can put them back in. But they need to be just a bit soft and a bit blistered. So that, yeah, yours, I haven't got your names on the screen. So, oh, Martin. I've got Martin Peck. Yeah, yours look nice and soft.
Becky,
oh, hi, actually. Hi, I know you. You're not Martin at all.
No, I'm not.
I didn't realize, I didn't look at my galley view. There's a couple of other people on here. Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
So yours are nice and soft, and that's great, but I'm going to leave mine in for a bit longer. And whilst we are doing that, how do I go back to, I don't know. So we're going to get our olives.
Olives.
So either your tomatoes are still in or they're out. Mine are still in. We're going to need a little bowl and our olives. I mean, unfortunately mine have got stones in, so I'm just going to quickly pick mine out. But actually I use, in the salsa itself, I leave the olives whole. But I can't because, well, they've got stones in them. So, tell you what, because I've got to do this, why don't you guys half your olives so that you're doing some chopping whilst I'm picking up my stones. So for your tomato salsa, half your green olives if you can. Well, of course you can, there's why not. We've got the coriander and the basil, which will need to be chopped. So whilst I do this, you could be chopping your basil and your coriander. Again, I just make a really big batch of this so that I can use the salsa throughout the week. I mean, I think in terms of time-saving activities, if I want to eat healthy, which I try and do, I mean, I'm not great at it, but if I want to eat healthy, I need to have stuff ready to go. Otherwise, I am so eating a burger, you know? And having just things in the fridge that you can use as a garnish, as a sauce, as a dip, just makes my life so much easier. And it adds to that rainbow of colors of food that we're supposed to be eating every day. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to pop my olives in a bowl, which I've got here. Use the, how many did I say to use? So for the olives, for the salsa, use about, so you can weigh 60 grams, use about 60 grams. And now we're going to chop the herbs to go with it. Basil, again, it's a beautiful summer herb. Pick off the leaves. I wanted to use salmon because since I've been studying for studying nutritional therapy, I realized really how deficient I am in omega-3s, and I suffer with a lot of chronic pain. I mean, that's dramatic, but I do. I get really bad back pain, and I'm now totally of the theory that I should be eating more omega-3s because they're just great for reducing inflammation. So we've got the basil. This is such a rough and quick way of cutting basil. I mean, by no means would Gordon Ramsay let you do this. But pile it all up. Get it into, like, you know, somewhat of a ball. And we're just going to, like, slice through it. Now that is the most basic chiffonade that you can imagine. Nobody in culinary school would ever get away with doing it quite so badly. But chop your basil into the bowl. And then we're going to go back to the coriander, slice a chunk off, and just chop that through. That might be a bit much, so I'm going to take a bit off. Again, I've got the measurements here, so if you want to measure it, I weigh it, you can weigh it, but I'm not going to bother. So that is now coriander, basil, and olives. And once the tomatoes are finished, we're going to add the tomatoes to the bowl. So if your tomatoes are finished, Once the tomatoes are finished, you can add or if they're finished, add them to the bowl and give them mixed through to warm through the olives and the herbs at the same time. So if they're not finished, we're going to do that after we've cooked the fritters. So I'm going to leave that here. Going to have a tidy down. Give everybody a bit of time in case they are putting their tomatoes into the salsa. And then I'm going to head over to the oven where we are going to start frying the fritters. So you're going to need another flat sheet. And you're going to need the fritter mix, you're going to need a frying pan and a spatula, which I haven't brought with me. So I'll figure that out as we go.
Yeah.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, do you? Oh yeah, hi. I mean, can you hear me? Do we cut the tomatoes or are we just putting them in whole?
No, they should be nice. They should be nice and soft or soft-ish. So I leave them whole.
Okay, lovely.
If we were going to cut them, we'd have cut them before we put them in the oven.
Yeah, I thought so.
So leave them as they are, and they should turn into a bit mushy, if you like. I need to work on my technical terms, but
yeah.
so we're going to head over to the oven if everybody's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So in your pan, we'll warm the pan up. So pop the pan onto a medium heat. Pan on medium heat and splash in a tablespoon of oil. And let that warm through. Can I find a spatula in here, I wonder? We've got 2 kitchens in this house, and I'm in the back kitchen because I'm trying to avoid my boss, which means I don't have everything to hand. Look, I'm going to use this as my spatula. Perfect. So we're warming through the oil. Give it a shake about the pan so that we're coating it. And then we've got the, what is this? It's a fritter mixture. So it's, it's fairly wet. It's obviously very thick. So I'm going to find a spoon. And we're going to place, so this mixture should make, well, I mean, we're making 2 portions. It'll probably end up making 3, but don't, I'm going to use, hang on, let's see. So 1 spoon. My pan isn't very hot. Hopefully your pan's a bit hotter than mine. So this is about the amount we're going to use for 1 fritter. It keeps asking me questions on my iPad. It's going to be nice and thick, so it's going to be quite deeply set. Ideally your pan's a bit hotter. I mean, you should have heard a sizzle. But I was pretty rubbish with that, so don't worry about it. Again, it's a pretty. No, let's not stress too much. Now that isn't going to make very interesting TV, so I'm going to go back to the chopping board, and whilst that's having a quick fry off, I'm going to check my tomatoes again. So if your tomatoes were a bit hard still, let's check tomatoes again. Oh, yay! So that'll do. I don't even know if the oven was on, if I'm honest. That might have been my problem. So as you can see, they are soft and juicy and delicious. And my bowl is tiny. That's not going to be big enough. So what I want to do is put my tomatoes in with the herbs and stuff. So I'm going to use the bowl. This is the bowl that I tossed the tomatoes in originally. So that's fine. I'm going to put those in here. Put all yours into a bigger bowl too if you need to. Don't forget your fritter. I can hear mine sizzling. I'm just going to scoot the tomatoes over to the edge of my pan and plop them into the salsa mix a little, fairly gently. I don't want them to turn, I don't actually want them to be like mush, you know, I said mush, but that was just a bad word. You know, they're fairly intact, you know, half and half. I'm going to stop talking now. And you should have some juicy loosey left, which we're going to use for the salsa. So just keep your pan, set it aside somewhere. We'll come back to that when we're dressing the plates. So that's that. We're going to go back to the fritters. So you can hear mine ticking away a bit now. It's not a spatula. I don't recommend this. So try and have a little look at the bottom. It should be nice and brown. It should hold itself fairly nicely, even easier if you have a spatula. If I don't. So basically you're going to flip it over. It should flip over easy, but I don't have the right equipment. So flip it over and leave it on the other side for a sec. Won't take very long. Back over to our chopping board. Give the tomatoes a stir through the herbs and the olives. I've got some massive thyme twigs in mine, so get rid of those. And this is our salsa. This is ready. We'll taste it with some salt and pepper in a little while. So that's ready. That can be set aside. I'm going to leave that there. Oh, our onions. That's what we should do. Who's got your onions? Everyone get your onions out and give them a toss around. So as you'll notice already that they've completely broken down already. Whereas before they looked like they were never going to do anything in that pickle. But now they've broken down, they're soft, and they turn this beautiful bright red color. So that's just the salt and the vinegar really bringing out the color. So give those a mix around and put them aside. And we'll head back again to the fritter. Okie doke, so mine are done. That one's done. I'm going to show you here. So that's, well, that's how big it is. I don't know if that's at all helpful, but imagine my hand in the fritter. You know, it's kind of the size of my hand. Now we're just going to cook off the next fritter. You might not need to use all of the mixture, but you can just cook, you know, cook as much as you want. But try and make the portions about the same size, and then if you've got a bit left over, you can cook that off at the end, and that can be a snack. Okay, so whilst that one's cooking, so I've got some left here. Sorry, I skipped there, but I've got a little bit left. I'm just going to leave that, and I'll cook it. I'll cook it later. And that will keep in the fridge. And you can rewarm it in the oven. So now we've got our fish. I've got 2 pieces of salmon here. You know, if you can, get wild salmon, because it has vaguely more omega-3s in it. So why not, you know? So dry it off. If you've got some paper towel, dry them off and pop them on your chopping board. We're going to get the oil. Don't forget your fritter. So oil, we're going to just drizzle a little bit of oil on top of the salmon and rub it in. So when we cook these, we're not going to oil the pan. We're just going to oil the salmon skin. And give your hands a wash. we're going to go back to our fritter. Leave the salmon with the oil on the skin for now. Back to the fritter, and it should be ready to turn over. Yay. So I'm just going to come over and ask you guys on the gallery view here, have your fritters, do they look anything like mine? Yay, yay, thumbs up, perfect. So that the second fritter is cooking on the second side. We're going to get some salt now to go on top of the skin of the fish. Again, be generous, you know, we want to make the skin nice and crispy, and salt helps with that. And it also, using a dry pan and just putting oil on the skin also helps with making the skin crispy. I'm going to go back to the fritter and pop it onto the baking tray. So here we are. Got 2 of those. Now you can either keep these in a warming oven. You can either keep them in a warming oven or just keep them out. I mean, the fish is now going to take 5 minutes, 4 minutes to cook. So I'm going to leave my fritters to the side. We've got the salmon. We've got the pan we used to cook the fritters in. I am just going to use a piece of kitchen towel to wipe that out, because, you know, less pans equals less washing up. So, you know, that's the pan we're going to use now for the fish. So pop that back onto the hob on a medium heat. So that's warming again. We've got the salmon. I usually actually trim my salmon just to make it look a bit prettier. It's also somewhat wasteful, so don't trim it if you don't like to waste. But I just get rid of a bit of that fat, which you could ultimately cook. You know, you can save it and use it in a fish cake or something. I just find it makes the end dish look a little bit nicer if you don't have too big a chunk of fish. So chop the ends off, use that for a fish cake or give it to your cat. And back over to our pan. So take both pieces of fish. We're going to cook it skin side down. I forgot to bring butter out, so I'm going to leave you and go and get it, because that is something I can't do without. I'm going to put these in the pan now. Skin side down, nice and hot. We're going to leave the fish in there for about a minute. I'm going to quickly run and get some butter and be back in 10 seconds. Hello, sorry guys. So, butter. This is my most favorite thing. Again, it's so not, I don't know, is it on trend for nutrition? I think it is. You know, I think people should eat more butter. It's real. The only thing you shouldn't eat is like margarine. I mean, butter over margarine any day. So, this has been in our pan for, I don't know, not even a minute, I don't think. So now we're going to get a chunk of butter. So here I've got about a big tablespoon. I'm going to pop it in the pan. Hopefully it doesn't steam off my camera. And we use the butter. It gives, well, obviously butter gives great flavour. It also really contributes towards making the skin nice and brown, and it will also give a nice crisp to the skin. So make sure your flame isn't too high because it will burn quite quickly. This is a nice nutty brown colour at the moment. But I am going to turn it down because that went brown quite quickly. So turn your flames down a touch. Leave the fish on the skin side just for a little bit longer. And whilst that's on there, we're going to have another clean down. So let's wipe our stuff. Let's get that out of the way. Wipe my board. And we can get a couple of plates ready now. So if you've got the plates that you want to use, we can get those to the pass. You can give your onions another little mix around if you like. And we've got the watercress as well. Watercress, again, it's another ingredient that we should be eating a lot more of. Bitter herbs. We should be, trying to get much more bitter herbs, bitter vegetables into our diet because they're just so good for us. So let's get some of our garnish ready. We've got about another 30 seconds on the fish. So choose some of your nice tops of water. It's nice. And before finishing that, let's go back to the fish and see how that's looking because I think we should turn it over. Okay, so we're going to turn the fish over. The skin should be perfect. Wow. So the skin's nice and brown, crispy. And we're going to cook it now for, I don't know, like a minute or so. Maybe a minute, 2 minutes to judge it. And then we'll turn it out and let it rest whilst it just finishes off cooking. So get a couple of plates ready. Okay, so we're going to leave the salmon in the pan. Let me just have a look at the galley view just so I can see you all. Okay, cool. I'm going to get rid of my chopping board. We've got our plates here. How's everyone doing? Great. So whilst they're finishing off, in fact, what I want you to do now is turn the heat off the salmon, and we're going to let it finish cooking in the residual heat from the pan, because mine's looking like it's ready for that. So I'm going to turn it off, and we're going to plate up. So we have a fritter on each plate. It should still be warm. You may need to take yours out of the oven. I didn't put mine in the oven. We have got the herb salsa, which mine's warm because of the tomatoes. They went in quite late, so give it another mix through. And we're going to put some of the tomatoes on top of the fritters. What are we doing time? And it's nice as well, just pop a couple of the more intact tomatoes around the edge. A couple of the olives. And then you can see, even in this pan here, I mean, I've got the residual juices
on my baking sheet, but I've still got a lot of juices in here. So that's awesome. So we can put that aside. Now we've got the onions, which we are going to just give it one more quick toss around. I'm going to put these beautiful onions, which have just been lightly pickled, also around the, I tend to just put them around the edge. I guess you can put some on top too. Yeah, why not? So a couple of these yummy, sweet, salty, sharp onions here. That's that. So again, I've got some extras here, but you can use this, pop them in a container and use them in a salad. That'd be really nice in a salad. And now the fish, so let's grab the fish. Now it should be cooked. I do like my salmon to be a touch pink, but you may not, so you might want to cook it a bit longer. But so I've got a nice brown bottom, nice crispy skin, and it's hot. And I'm going to pop it on top. Pop it on top. So we've got the lovely salmon in the middle. I'm going to wipe my fingers. And now for the watercress. So our nice bitter greens. If you did get around to picking out the nicer leaves, we can stick those around the edge of your plate. Now I tend to do things in threes because it's good for symmetry or something. So I'm going to pop a bit of watercress around the plate, like so. And then lastly, the last thing we're going to do is use the dressing. So we have, I've got enough dressing in my bowl of salsa. So I'm going to just scoop some of it up and pop it around the plate. What's nice about this dish? Well, other than the fact that it's seasonal, so you know all the ingredients are at their best, is most of it you can do in advance. You know, you can make this salsa 2 days in advance. You can make the sweet corn fritters a day in advance. Anything you really need, and the onions you can do a week in advance. Anything you really need to do at the time is the salmon. So it's actually a really nice dinner party dish, and I think it looks pretty. So this is what we've got. I think this is a nice end of summer dinner party dish. We've got the sweet corn fritter, again, totally in season, delicious. Tomatoes in season, wild salmon is always in season. But try and get wild if you can. Watercress, eat more watercress. It's just so good for you. This is our dinner. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to actually cut into my fish, and then now you see what it should look like. I'm going to cut my fish so that you can see what it should look like, hopefully. Ah, my goodness, it is absolutely perfect. Can you see? It's a bit bright. Okay, you can't really see because it's so bright, but that's, you know, it looks delicious. It looks moist and perfectly cooked, basically. And you know what? On the packet of salmon, it says cook for 15 minutes. If you cook salmon for 15 minutes, honestly, just throw it out. So that's it, really. I'm going to have a look at my camera and see if any of you guys have plated, see if you've got a dinner that you can eat. I mean, I really hope you have. Let me just find my gallery view. Did you all manage to make something? Sarah, you're nodding. You've got something. Jenny's got something. Oh, delicious.
I only did the fritters actually today because I didn't get around. I just couldn't make it happen with all my ingredients. But my fritter looks just like yours, and I've taken notes for the rest.
It does. I'm pleased to see it does. At least that means my communication wasn't too bad.
Not at all. They're absolutely perfect. Fantastic. Thanks, Rebecca.
Another thing with the fritters is they're really, really nice with tarragon. So if you put tarragon in them, delicious. Yum. Oh, yay. Whose is that?
Yeah.
Me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey. That looked perfect.
I didn't cut the salmon, but
No, looks great. A bit more crisp on the skin, I think.
yeah,
Looks
I think
a bit pale, but it looks delicious. What do you think? Have you give it a try?
looking forward to it.
Good.
That
What
was
about-
great. Feedbacks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So if nobody's got anything to say or any questions to ask, feel free to ask any questions. I'm happy to answer what I can. Otherwise, thank you so much for cooking with me. It was good fun. It was good practice, and I was very happy to be doing it. So I hope you enjoyed the dinner.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
See you next time.
Great, thanks very much. Bye.